Hello, everyone. Welcome this evening to the Mulberry City Council meeting. We have a lot of things to cover this evening. We're going to go through a few of them, potentially out of order. I'll try to keep you in the loop. Our city attorney, Mr. Riley, had a flat tire on the way here, so he's on his way, but some of the things that we need him for, we're going to probably move those around. So I appreciate your patience as you stick with us this week as we're going to kind of be jumping around. We don't have a pastor here tonight for the invocation, so we're going to jump straight to the call to order. And I'm going to call the roll as I do every single week. First up, District 1 Councilman Tim Sullivan.
Present.
District 2 Councilman Michael Coker, I am present. District 3 Councilman Kyle Shields.
Present.
And District 4 Councilman Michael Rudnick, also the Mayor Pro Tem.
Present.
District 5 Councilman Doug Ingram. For those out there, we found out that Councilman Ingram actually is stuck out of state. His flight got canceled coming back due to the weather, so he could not make it tonight. But Madam Clerk, if you could note that 4 out of the 5 council members were able to be here. Okay, at this time, if you could stand if you're able, and we'll go ahead and say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we'll move to item E on the agenda, and I will let everybody know that if you have not already, we have some extra copies of the agenda down here on the podium. Feel free to come forward and grab one so you can follow along with us this evening. We are also going to have public comments, like we do at almost every meeting. If you would like to make a public comment, I'm going to ask you to come up to our city clerk, Ms. Chandler Faith Pitts, and just put your name on her roll so we have that for the record. And so if you want to go ahead and be doing that, we will call those up one at a time when we get to public comments. I did also want to inform the public that we are very excited. It is official. I guess I can announce it right, that we have a official space, an official office and city hall for the city of Mulberry. The address is 2089 Terran Trace, Suite 120 in Decula, Georgia. So for those of you that don't know that area or not familiar, if you know where Duncan Creek Park is, there's a little road across the street called Terran Trace, and that there is there's an office that is down in there in one of the buildings that the city will operate out of. So we're very excited that that is up and running. There are employees that will be working there. I will tell you, they will take a snow day tomorrow, so they will not be there tomorrow, but they will be there Monday through Friday, just so you know, to staff the office. And so obviously it's still a work in progress. We have a lot of work to do and things to add and to do, but we are very excited to have a physical location, office location for the city staff to work in. The other items that we have on tonight's agenda, so we have a few different things that we're going to go through. First, we have 3 different meeting notes that we need to adopt. We have some ordinances that we need to get into, and then we're going to close with some action items that we need to address. So let's go ahead and start. We'll move on to item F. The first item F, is a consideration of the January 1st, 2025 meeting notes. The meeting summary, every one of the council members should have a copy of that summary in front of them. And if there is, at this point, I will take a motion to adopt the meeting summary from January 1st, 2025 at 00:00 hours.
I'll make a motion to adopt the Mulberry City Council meeting summary for January 1st, 2025 at 00:00 hours.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Do I have a second?
You have a second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? Okay, the meeting minutes from January 1st, 2025 at 00:00 hours is hereby adopted. Okay, moving on to item G, we are now going to consider the meeting minutes for January 2nd, 2025 at 9 a.m. The council should have those in front of us. Do I have a motion to adopt the minutes from January 2nd, 2025?
Make a motion to adopt the minutes from January 2nd, 2025.
Thank you, Councilman Sullivan. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? Okay, by a vote of 4, the minutes from January 2nd, 2025 at 9 a.m. are hereby adopted.
Mayor, I have one quick, I didn't read this. I believe for the January 2nd, 2025 meeting, I was present for that one, and it was the January 3rd meeting that I was not present for.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so that is,
If I remember correctly, Councilman Sullivan was present, myself and yourself were present, and Councilman Shields and Councilman Ingram were the ones that were absent from that meeting.
okay, so let's reopen that. So let's go back to item G on the agenda. Let's reopen that. So I have a motion,
Can I make a motion on that?
Yeah, why don't you make a motion and then we'll adopt or make an amendment, a motion to amend. I'll adopt the amendment and then we'll adopt the correction.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to amend the Mulberry City Council meeting summary minutes from January 2nd, 2025 at 9 a.m. Under item C to read Mayor Michael Coker called roll. Present was Mayor Michael Coker, Councilman Tim Sullivan, Mayor Pro Temp Michael Rudnick. Absent was Councilmember Kyle Shields and Councilmember Doug Ingram.
I wasn't there on the second. I was on the third. Yeah. Make a motion to amend.
Apologies. Let me read that again. I'd like to make a motion to amend the Mulberry City Council meeting summary from January 2nd, 2025 at 9 a.m. to read under item C, Mayor Michael Coker called roll. Present were Mayor Michael Coker, Councilmember Kyle Shields, and Mayor Pro Temp Michael Rudnick. Absent were Councilmember Tim Sullivan and Councilmember Doug Ingram.
I'd like to see if we can get a second on that.
I will second that. Correction.
Okay, so we have a motion to amend January 2nd, 2025. We have a second to list that Mayor Pro Tem Michael Rudnick was present and that Councilman Doug Ingram was absent. Did you get that, Madam Clerk? Okay. We have a second, so let's vote on the amendment. All in favor? All opposed? Okay, so that amendment is complete. So I will make a motion to adopt the January 2nd, 2025 at 9 a.m. meeting summary as amended. Do I have a second?
You have a second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All right, I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? Okay, so as amended, the January 2nd, 2025 meeting summary for the meeting at 9 a.m. that date is hereby adopted. Okay, moving on to item H. I believe Mayor Pro Tem Rudnick, you said there was a similar issue on this one as well?
No, I was not present for the January 3rd meeting.
Okay, so is the roll call correct on this one?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Then, with the understanding that this one is correct on January 3rd, 2025, I will make a motion to adopt the special called meeting summary from January 3rd, 2025 at 9 a.m. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? Okay, by a vote of 4, the Mulberry City Council special called meeting summary for January 3rd, 2025 at 9 a.m. is hereby adopted. All right, I next would like to call the council's attention to tonight's meeting agenda. Is there any items that need to be added or taken away to the meeting agenda? Okay, hearing none, I will call a vote, or I will take a motion to adopt that meeting agenda. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to adopt the agenda for January 9th, 2025 at 6:30 PM as presented.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? Okay, by a vote of 4, the Mulberry City Council meeting agenda for this evening is hereby adopted. Next up, that brings us to item J, which is our public comment section. Madam Clerk, has anyone signed up to do public comments?
No.
Okay. Hearing none, we will go ahead and close the public comments for this evening. Item K, I think we're going to take out of order. We're going to skip that and rely on, it is the second read of the ordinances, and so we are going to wait for City Attorney Bill Riley to arrive so we can do those. So let's skip ahead to some of the action items. Action item A, I'd like to go ahead and move or skip if that's okay, and we'll come back to it. That's a consideration of the amendment to the moratorium resolution. Is Ms. Kiefer here? Thank you. We'll wait, if that's okay with you, we'll wait on that when Bill gets here, and then I'll have you speak. For those of you that maybe don't know, so we obviously have been working through the permitting issue that I know you've heard us talk a lot about. You might have even seen a letter that we had sent out. Miss Rebecca Kiefer has been a lifesaver. She has been working 90, 100 hours a week to double time to get these processed and to figure out where we are and organized as we take over these permit applications from the county. She's going to get up in a little while and talk a little bit about that process and kind of what's been going on and the plan moving forward with that. But we'll hold off on that for the moment. So that would bring us to item B on the action items. So it would be item LB, which would be the appointment of Chandler Faith Pitts as city clerk. I would like to say this to the rest of the council members, is that Chandler Faith Pitts, who has been our acting city clerk, so she has been working for us. I have met Chandler Faith through the referendum process. She was someone who was always interested in the city and always asking me what she could do to help the city, and I always appreciated that. She always came up to me and said, "What can I do? How can I help? How can I help?" And once I was graciously elected by District 2, I knew that we needed an acting city clerk to basically take the minutes of our meetings, right? To write down what is said, who votes how, what. And so when we were kind of putting our brains together, I had remembered Chandler Faith, and I said, well, I have this young woman, Chandler Faith, who I think would be great. She would love to do it. She's always asked me how to help. And the idea was that she would just help us for one meeting. And then that one meeting turned into 2. And then that 2 turned into 4, and then 6, and then as we sit here today. And she has been an absolute lifesaver for me, and she is one of the hardest working individuals that I have ever seen. And so I would like to propose that we make her, instead of the acting clerk for the city of Mulberry, that we make her the clerk of the city of Mulberry. Because of what the work that she's put in, what a blessing she has been to us, but not just to us, but to this city. So is there any discussion on Ms. Chandler Faith Pitts becoming the city clerk?
Yeah, I'd just like to say echo the same sentiments. There's not many people that would show up to work at midnight on New Year's Eve, we'll call it work because she wasn't getting paid, and do the work that she's doing. All these minutes that we get here that are pages and pages thick, she puts these together seamlessly, responds to emails quickly. She's never been a clerk before. She's never clerked anywhere. But from talking to other people, she's taken to it very quickly, hit the ground running, made very few mistakes, and any mistakes she's made, not repeated that same mistake. So thankful for you, to have you here. Excited to continue to work with you, and look forward to having you on the team.
Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, I have a resolution in front of you. Acting Clerk Pitts, do we know what the last resolution number was? I'm sorry. This would be 5. Okay, so this is Resolution 2025-0105. It's a
Mayor,
resolution of the mayor and city councilor of Mulberry, Georgia, appointing Chandler Faith Pitts as city clerk. Is there any discussion about this resolution?
Yeah, the only thing that needs to be fixed is the date at the very end says January 9th, 2002. Just needs a 5.
Thank you. Yes, I will make that correction. Thank you. January 9th, 2025. Okay, is there any other discussion about this resolution? Hearing none, it is my honor to make a motion to appoint make a motion to adopt resolution number 2025-0105, which appoints Chandler Faith Pitts as the city clerk and the first city clerk for the city of Mulberry. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? All right, by a vote of 4, it is official that Chandler Faith Pitts will be the first city clerk for the city of Mulberry. Congratulations. The next item, before we move on, if it's okay, I'd like to go ahead and deliver the oath to Ms. Chandler Faith Pitts on behalf of the city of Mulberry. So, Ms. Pitts, if you could come to the podium for me. Is that microphone on? Thank you. Okay. If you could, raise your right hand. And then if you could repeat after me, I'm going to take it as in small chunks, okay? I, Chandler Faith Pitts,
I, Chandler Faith Pitts,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
or affirm
or affirm
that I will faithfully perform the duties
that I will faithfully perform the duties
of city clerk of the city of Mulberry, Georgia,
of city clerk of the city of Mulberry, Georgia,
and that I will support and defend the charter
that I will support and defend the charter
thereof,
thereof,
as well as the Constitution
as well as the Constitution
and the laws of the state of Georgia
and the laws of the state of Georgia
and of the United States of America.
and of the United States of America.
I further swear
I further swear
or affirm
or affirm
that I am not the holder
that I am not the holder
of any public money
of any public money
due this state
due this state
unaccounted for,
unaccounted for,
and that I am not the holder
and that I am not the holder
of any office
of any office
or trust
or trust
under the government
under the government
of the United States,
of the United States,
any other state,
any other state,
or any foreign state
or any foreign state,
by which the laws
by which the laws
of this state
of this state
I am prohibited from holding,
I am prohibited from holding,
and that I am otherwise
and that I am otherwise
qualified
qualified
to hold said office
to hold said office
according to the Constitution
according to the Constitution
and the laws of Georgia,
and the laws of Georgia,
and will support the Constitution
and will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and of this state.
and of this state.
So help me God.
So help me God.
And if you agree, if you could say, I solemnly swear or affirm.
I solemnly swear or affirm.
Congratulations. If you could join me in thanking Ms. Chandler Pitts. Okay, so that brings us to item number C on the agenda, which I'd like to discuss with my fellow council members. So obviously now that we have an official clerk for the city of Mulberry, state law requires that our clerk undergo mandatory state training, okay? It's a program, it's a week long or 4 days, something like that, 3-4 days, where the clerk would go down and would become state certified basically to do this. Now, because of this, we would like to get Ms. Chandler Faith up and running as quick as possible so that she has that state training, she can do things and understand and be certified as necessary. So obviously right now, as we're in the initial startup phases of the city, as we're still working to get a bank account and the initial funds to come into the city. Obviously, we'd like to go ahead and get her to move on that. So my request from you guys, if you are so willing, would be to allow myself, as a thank you, to cover the cost of Ms. Chandler Faith to go to that initial training. It would include the cost of the training, as well as the hotel fee, and then any related travel expenses. Obviously, I think she's earned it. I think she's earned everything she's done for us. And so per state law, I have to get your approval for that to make that donation, and then the city of Mulberry has to accept that donation. So is there any questions or discussions about that item?
It's all been run by Bill. He's Copistat.
Use your microphone.
Sorry. That's been run by city attorney and it's Copistat?
Yes, so the city attorney has instructed me that this is the appropriate way to do
Cool.
this. Correct. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I probably shouldn't make this motion, but if someone could make a motion for the city of Mulberry to accept that donation for Chandler Faith to attend the state mandated clerk training, I would appreciate it. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion for the donation for state mandated clerk training for Chandler Faith Pitts and associated travel costs to attend the state mandated training and accept the donation from Mayor Michael Coker.
Okay, do I have a second?
You have a second?
Okay, I'm going to abstain from voting on this since I'm the one making the donation. Is there any other discussion about this? Okay, at this time I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? Okay, by a vote of 3, the city of Mulberry will accept the donation for state mandated clerk training for Ms. Chandler Pitts to go ahead and get her certification. Thank you, gentlemen. The next item, item D, for those of you that were here, Gwinnett County Emergency Management had showed up and they had given us a list of items that they needed. Item D was one of those initial items that was needed, which was they are asking for the city to appoint a primary emergency contact and then 2 alternates. Is there any discussion amongst the council as to who you guys would recommend those individuals be? Do we have a preference?
So these are primary emergency contacts in case of emergency in our area?
Great question. So in the event of an emergency, right, if there was something hazardous or a catastrophe or something, the county wants one individual from Mulberry designated as the primary contact to deliver information to that individual, and then that individual to then deliver information to the remaining council members and then ultimately the public. They have specifically asked for that to be one individual and then to have 2 alternates in the event that for whatever reason, the initial individuals are unable to serve, in that capacity. So, obviously, I was going to propose it be always just remain the mayor and the mayor pro tem. Councilman Shields, I know you have some emergency training too. I think that might make sense for you to also be on there. But that's, again, I'm open to ideas or suggestions.
No, that sounds good. I guess I should use the mic. That's fine. It sounds good to me. My emergency training is limited to hurricane forecasting, but we don't have too many of those.
Okay.
Yeah, it sounds appropriate to me, and I assume that standard operating procedure in other cities would be a mayor would be a primary point of contact, and the secondary and tertiary points of contact would be due to vacation or sickness or something of that result. Does that sound accurate?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, I think those would work for me.
Okay, then I will go ahead and make a motion that we will let the county know that the primary contact for emergency coordination will be the mayor, myself, Michael Coker, and then the 2 alternates will be the mayor pro tem, Michael Rudnick, as well as Councilman Kyle Shields. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, I will go ahead and call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? Okay, thank you. By a vote of 4, it's determined that the primary emergency coordinator for the city of Mulberry will be the mayor, and the 2 alternates will be the mayor pro tem as well as Councilman Shields. Okay, the next three items, we're going to also skip, if that's okay. Items E, F, and G, the adoptions of the contracts for the consultants. I know that Mr. Riley was going to present those for us as well. The next item, item H, is the adoption of statewide aid and assistance agreement for Georgia Emergency Management. The councilmen should all have a copy of that. In addition to Gwinnett County Emergency Management, the Georgia Emergency Management Association, GEMA, you might have heard that, they coordinate with the federal government, FEMA, and direct emergency aid to disaster areas. And so in order to do so, we need to adopt into the state plan as well. So we've already talked, we're going to talk a little bit about the county's plan, but we also need to adopt into the state plan. So in front of you is the it's the statewide mutual aid and assistance agreement, which was provided by the Georgia Emergency Management Association, which obviously is very relevant given through what we might go through tomorrow. But this is in front of you, and so is there any discussion about this document and opting into the statewide mutual aid and assistance program?
I think you answered this for me earlier, but you said this is just a standard document from them to us and standard amongst other cities and municipalities?
That's my understanding. This was provided to me by the Gwinnett County emergency people, that I believe it's their standard form that every city, every municipality, and every county signs to opt in to the state program.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, I will make a motion to adopt the statewide mutual aid and assistance agreement as part of the Georgia Emergency Management Act. Do I have a second?
A second.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Any other discussion about this item? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? All opposed? Okay. By a vote of 4, Mulberry hereby adopts the statewide mutual aid and assistance agreement for the city of Mulberry. The next item, item I, gentlemen, you do not have a copy of the actual operations plan in front of you, but each of us were provided a copy of this from the county through a secure link to discuss the county's emergency operations plan, which is obviously we just adopted the statewide mutual aid agreement now, so now we're going down to the county. They have an operations plan in the event of all sorts of disasters, what would occur. Is there any discussion about adopting the county's operation plan, which is my understanding has also been adopted by all the other cities in the county? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to adopt the emergency operations plan of Gwinnett County. I'm sorry. I'll make a motion to adopt the Gwinnett County Office of Emergency Operations Management Plan, which was dated December 21st, 2014 was the last edition. Do I have a second?
A second.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? Okay, by a vote of 4, the Mulberry hereby adopts the Gwinnett County Emergency Management Operations Plan from December 21st, 2014. The next item in front of you was also provided to us at that meeting that the Gwinnett County Emergency Management Department came and spoke to us. They have proposed a hazard mitigation plan. So for those of you in the public, about every 5 years, the county does what's called a hazard mitigation plan, which means they identify those items within each of their individual cities and in the unincorporated parts of the county that they determine are concerns for public safety. They have provided us with a draft of our emergency hazard mitigation plan. They have drafted this for us because the deadline is coming up. I believe it's in a week or so. And so if they have asked us, they know it's a short timeline, so they've been very kind and have drafted this for us and have kind of helped hold our hand through the process. Has the council had a chance to flip through this and take a look at it?
Yeah, they're missing some information. On the second page, you have a list of schools in Mulberry. They are missing the middle school and elementary school in Ridge Road in District 1.
Sure, and I appreciate that. So that's the purpose of this. We're not going to adopt this tonight,
Right.
but if we could go through this and you could let me know what items need to be changed, I'm going to go back to them and have them amend it, and then we can adopt the final version. So that's one item. You said it was missing. What paragraph is that in, Councilman Sullivan?
It's the chart on page 2 called Table 104, Mulberry School Infrastructure.
So we're missing the
I think one is Ivy
second-year
Creek and
clusters.
Jones Mill, I think, is the middle school,
Jones Middle,
and Ivy Creek Elementary. Right?
Ivy Creek Elementary, and Seconder High School as well.
Yeah, that's true. They missed that one as well.
So Ivy Creek, Jones Middle, Second-year. Okay, so we will make that adjustment. Is there other items that need to be addressed or looked at on this document?
Yeah, I got one little thing, and forgive me if I'm sounding nitpicky. I don't mean to be. In the second paragraph on page 1, talking about the new city, it says the area commonly known as Hamilton Mill. I'd like to remind everybody that a good third to a half of our population and landmass is on the other side of I-85. And if you ask anybody over there, said, where are you from? They would say Buford. They would not say Hamilton Mill. And I know from reading public comments on Facebook, ad nauseum, it would upset a great number of people as well. So we
Perfect.
want to strike that.
So it says, that sentence says, this new city is expected to provide more localized governance for the residents in the area commonly known as Hamilton Mill. What if we just leave that sentence to read, the new city is expected to provide more localized governance for the residents in the area, period?
Exactly,
You
yes.
okay with that? Okay. Okay, any other items as you guys read through this that you think need to be adjusted? I was going to propose, so if you flip over to the last page, these are the mitigation actions that are discussed that, the city could ultimately undertake, things like identify and bury utility lines, install generators, winter weather salting, obviously, which we're going to deal with potentially tomorrow, and then flood mitigation issues. I was going to propose maybe potentially adding in my district, the Duncan Creek Dam to this as an item that maybe we want to look at for the future for hazard mitigation. I'm not an expert at dams, but I do understand that dam has not been looked at for some time, so I think that would make sense to potentially add that as an item to our hazard mitigation plan. Okay, is that okay? Any other items?
So it looks like that goal 1 that you were talking about, that section 1.3.13, 14, 15, those are all related to winter storms. And the second section, goal 7, I'm not sure where goals 2 through 6 went, but goal 7, maybe that's the county's goals. Maybe there needs to be a different section, or maybe that, were you talking about putting the dam under that second section?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there is a separate dam section. I'll have to talk to the Gwinnett County Emergency Management people, but yes, I do believe there is a dam
Specific section?
So it would be another black line, it would say dam, and then it would have the Duncan Creek Dam. We would add that as an item.
Okay.
Obviously, we don't have the estimated costs or those kind of things, so we'd have to obviously look into that, but I was going to propose that be an item that we consider.
Okay.
Is there any other hazards that you guys feel like should need to be added to Table 106 that may require mitigation actions? And I should say for the public, so these are actions that are taking like over the next 5 to 10 years. So these are items that, and this can always be amended. So if there's something that comes up in the city, we can always go back and change this. But in order to get grant funding, it helps to go ahead and have those listed in here so that we can tell the federal government or the state that, hey, these are the items that we know the city of Mulberry wants to work on. Any other changes or items that you guys feel like need to be added? Obviously, this will just be draft 1, and then I will speak to them, get them to make these changes, and then we can present potentially draft 2, and then obviously if there is any additional changes, we can amend it and then adopt it. Nothing further? You good? Okay, then we'll set that to the side. I will get in touch with the Gwinnett County Emergency Management people to talk a little bit about that. I still don't see Mr. Riley. Why don't we, Ms. Kiefer, would you be okay? Go ahead and talking, even though we haven't talked briefly. We haven't talked about the moratorium. I know there are certain items that Mr. Riley was going to propose that we lift on that moratorium. But again, ladies and gentlemen, this is Rebecca Kiefer. She's the one I was telling you about that's been working overtime. She is with Clark Patterson Lee, CPL, who is addressing and working with us on our moratorium, as well as the planning and zoning and the permitting. So, Ms. Kiefer, thank you for coming tonight, and thank you for all the work you're doing. But I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. Very nice to be here. Would you like me, I can go through and kind of summarize kind of what's been happening as well as the moratorium.
Yeah, that'd be great. Can you pull that microphone down a little bit for you? There you go.
Is that better?
Much better.
Excellent. All right, so starting, I think probably Thursday of last week, we started receiving permit requests. And so what we've been doing is really largely a triage process. There are essentially three kind of buckets that everyone is falling into. The first, related to permits, that is, the first being kind of you had a permit with Gwinnett County, it was issued, you're actively working up until January 1st when you got notification. Those are what we're calling the transfer permits. The second is you were in review, maybe had some comments, maybe were up until the point of having a permit issued. And then the third is you just haven't applied for a permit yet. So we're having, because of the moratorium, we're having to kind of handle those three different ways. The transfer permits, if we receive kind of basic information about your project that was permitted, then we're able to authorize a transfer permit for that, and we are initiating inspections hopefully tomorrow to be able to move some of those projects forward. We're continuing to process those as quickly as possible. There are hundreds of emails coming in, so we are working feverishly to get those answered and moving forward. The projects that are in review, we will be reviewing those and advancing those. We have met with some applicants to be able to talk through what that process looks like. We are wanting to prioritize. This week we were prioritizing looking at those transfer permits because those are the ones that we're already moving. Hopefully in the next couple weeks we'll be able to actually start reviewing those permits so that they are permit ready when the moratorium lifts, or at least advancing them toward that point. And then maybe toward the end of the month, looking at more those permits that were never applied for under Gwinnett County. So, we were working today, just in a conversation, talking about obstacles to opportunity. So this is kind of an obstacle that I don't think any of us foresaw, but an opportunity to work with the community a lot sooner than we anticipated. So we hope to be able to keep that moving forward and continue to working with the community on those. Other updates, we've got the occupational tax certificate renewal process. Both the finance and the IT department are also very heavily involved in this and are coordinating. There's a lot of kind of background process that's happening for that to kind of build up the system to be able to accept those. It's a little bit of go slow to go fast. If we can accept those electronically and payments electronically, then we'll really be able to move those a little bit faster than kind of getting it out sooner, but accepting paper copies and having to kind of input those into a system as it is. So, and then we will have that system then ready when the moratorium lifts to be able to process those new licenses. And that's alcohol as well. Other on the front is the same system. It can be configured and it's really oriented to be able to accept permits. So at the time that we're ready to lift the moratorium, we'll be working in the background prior to that to be able to build up the system. There are various workflows, permit applications, payment processes and things that will already be partially configured because of the occupational tax process, but a little bit more that we need to, in the workflow, to establish for the permitting process for those new permits and a fee schedule associated with that. And then lastly would be the planning and zoning process. And so that will be the ability to accept applications for rezonings, for special use permits, and variances. And so some of the things that need to fall into place before that is seating the Planning Commission, the Zoning Board of Appeals, and then developing schedules and applications for those, again, in that same system where we can accept them, accept payment, and process them accordingly. With that, would you like me to go ahead and kind of talk about the moratorium amendment as well?
Let me check and see if anybody has any questions first. Anybody have any questions for Ms. Kiefer about what she's been talking about?
I do. I know this was unexpected to be this busy this early, and we appreciate you guys stepping up to the plate and taking care of the citizens of Mulberry and others that are doing business in Mulberry, and how much work you've put in. Can you speak to, or do you know approximately how many permits are out there that kind of got dropped in our lap? They're in, maybe not necessarily in the specific buckets, but in totality, how many of you guys potentially could be receiving phone calls about or emails that were sent saying, hey, your file is closed, we're no longer handling this from the county, and contact the city of Mulberry, that we received relatively unexpectedly. And then my second question would be maybe just for the recording, if other people were to watch this later, and I'm sure you're going to speak to this, but the best way to get in contact with you or your firm and kind of best process to go about that, and,
Sure.
and maybe who's at our City Hall.
Absolutely. So I'll tackle them one at a time. We actually have no indication right now of the potential volume of the permits. We've got probably about 200 logged at the moment, with many more kind of in the queue to be logged and handled. As far as contact, I think if you have a permit that you're wanting to advance, if you email me with some basic information, if it's a transfer permit where we can actually move forward with that transfer, the basic permit card, kind of permit authorization document, plans, inspection records, and we've got a form that I can follow up with. That does not have to be in your initial, but the faster that you can send those documents and in a consolidated format and via email, then especially because we're working beyond business hours, doing that via email will allow us to also respond to those outside of business hours, which we're not making phone calls quite into the night. So that helps us handle some of those at extended hours. My email address is Rebecca, REBECCA, .Kiefer, KEEFER, at mulberryga.gov as of this afternoon. We will still be receiving the .us email address as well. That will be forwarded. Does that answer all your questions, Councilman? Thank you.
Any other questions? I have one, Ms. Kiefer. So if I'm a homeowner, right, and I was, let's say, building a swimming pool in my backyard, or I was putting an addition on my house, and I had already had my application filed with Gwinnett County, what can I do to make it easier on you and to expedite the process?
Good question. So we've got a transfer permit. So you can first email me, let me know what the status of your project is. I was in application with the county. I realize I can't receive my permit right now. Can I get the transfer permit application? And we can probably also get that posted online if you want to go ahead and you can email that. But if you submit that transfer permit along with your most recent round of comments from the county, so we are starting from the point that you left off of with the county. We are not kind of backtracking with any of that. So your most recent round of comments from the county, your plan set that responds to that, or whatever action needed to be taken as a result of the comments, and that form, that transfer form, has basic project information that we need to be able to kind of take a look at your project. So if we could start with that and email that, then we will get you moving.
Any other questions? Mr. Riley, I know she was going to start talking about the moratorium. Would you like for her to speak on that first? Okay, thank you.
All right, so what we've got tonight, obviously we've got the moratorium in place that it restricts the permits and applications that are processed. And through the process, what we have found is that there is a need to be able to have the authority to process emergency permits. These are very limited in scope to immediate peril to life, safety, and public health. And so we have limited that within the resolution that proposed to amend the moratorium for repairs to critical infrastructure, restoration of essential services such as water, gas, electricity, heating, and air conditioning, and mitigation of hazards including fire, flooding, or environmental contamination. There is a review process for these. It would go in expedited review. But they would have to meet the terms of that threshold for it being a true emergency, and we would receive that permit, and they just have to provide documentation and a justification for why it's an emergency. And if it meets that threshold, then we would be able to issue a permit under the proposed amendment to the moratorium.
Any question from the council on that? So about just an emergency or lifting of the moratorium as to emergency permits only. So meaning like if somebody had a serious issue that needed to be resolved immediately, that we would permit them to still get issued the permit despite the moratorium in place. Is there any other questions or comments about that?
So we're talking about life and limb and that kind of thing, not oh my God, if I don't get my pool in tomorrow, I'll lose $1,000.
Exactly, yes. Power needs to be restored and it's 20 degrees outside. There's a tree that needs to be removed off of the house.
Okay.
Is this something we're voting on tonight, or?
Yes, we are. Do we have a copy of that resolution with us? Thank you.
Perfect, that's what I was looking for.
Do you mind approaching and we can just take a quick glance at that and make sure I appreciate you proposing that to us.
One single-sided one if you want to look at that.
Awesome, thank you. Any questions or discussion about that proposed resolution amending the moratorium for emergency situations?
Have you had a need for these in the last 7 days?
There's been one need to restore power.
Okay, perfect.
Madam Clerk, this would be Resolution 2025-0106. Okay. So, Councilman, this will be Resolution 2025-0106, a resolution amending the moratorium adopted on January 3rd, 2025 to make an exception for emergency permits. Is there any discussion about this resolution? Hearing none, would someone like to make a motion to adopt that resolution?
Make a motion to adopt the amendment to the resolution amending the moratorium adopted on January 3rd, 2025.
Resolution 2025-0106. Do I have a second?
A second.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? The resolution amending the moratorium adopted January 3rd, 2025 for the exception for emergency permits is hereby adopted. Thank you, Ms. Kiefer. Do you have anything else you'd like to share?
No, that's all. Thank you for the
Okay,
opportunity.
thank you so much for coming and for all your hard work.
Thank you.
Mayor, I have a quick question. Was that the same as item A on our agenda?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Yes, that is under action items.
That one did
That
say
was action item LA, correct.
The agenda did say 250104.
Okay, we'll correct that. 250106 would be the next resolution. So, Mr. Riley, what we did is we went ahead and skipped the ordinance adoptions for the second read. I'll probably, if it's okay with you, turn that over to you we can do the second reads. And then we have paused on the adoptions of the contracts. And then we also fast forwarded on item K, which was notice to the county on the collection of ad valorem taxes. So let's just, if we can just maybe take those in order. Let's start with the second reads, item K, if that's okay.
All right, Mayor and Council, this is second reads of ordinances. Madam Clerk, when we posted this, we did not have the numbers, so I'm going to ask you to give me those numbers. What's is K, second reads on KA, that would be the second read of an ordinance, the City of Mulberry creating a system of regulation of sexually oriented business, presentation of the supporting data for adoption. That first read was the one on last Friday morning. Could you give me the number on that, please? 115? Thank you. And this would be a second read. Mayor and Council, I'd ask that you take the supporting data that you were previously given by Mr. Berthole on a previous occasion and the thumb drives that he provided you that you reviewed in making a determination that is appropriate to pass this ordinance.
Is there any discussion about ordinance 250115? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 250115. Do I have a second?
115, Mayor.
115, I'm sorry. Then I will make a motion to adopt ordinance 2501-115. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? By a vote of 4, ordinance 2501-115 is hereby adopted.
Next ordinance we have is 2501, and this is the second read of an ordinance of creating Chapter 1, general provisions, setting methodologies, terms of use, definitions, penalties, and for other purposes for the Mulberry Code of Ordinances. This is the second read of an ordinance that had a first read on Friday of last week. What is that number, Madam Clerk? That would be 2501-116.
Is there any discussion about ordinance 2501-116? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 2501-116. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? By a vote of 4, ordinance 2501-116 is hereby adopted.
The next one is item C. This is a second read of an ordinance of the City of Mulberry, Georgia, creating Chapter 2, Administration, creating a framework for the administration of the City of Mulberry government. This is the follow-up to the first read that was on last Friday morning. And what was the number on that one, please, Madam Clerk? That would be ordinance 2501-117, Mayor.
Is there any discussion about ordinance 2501-117? Hearing none, I will make a motion to adopt ordinance 2501-117. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? By a vote of 4, ordinance 2501-117 is hereby adopted.
Next item is item D. This is second read of an ordinance of the City of Mulberry, Georgia, creating Chapter 6, alcoholic beverages, creating a framework for controlling sales and distribution of alcohol beverages. This is the second read of an ordinance that had a first read on last Friday morning. What is the number on that one, please, Madam Clerk? Mayor, this is number 2501-118.
Is there any discussion about ordinance 2501-118? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 2501-118. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? By a vote of 4, ordinance 2501-118 is hereby adopted.
The next item is item number E. This is a second read of an ordinance of the City of Mulberry, Georgia, Chapter 10, Buildings and Building Regulations, creating a framework for construction, maintenance, enforcement, and demolition of properties within the City of Mulberry. This is second read of a first read of an ordinance that occurred on last Friday morning. What is the number on that one, please, Madam Clerk?
Is there any discussion about ordinance 2501-119? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 2501-119. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? By a vote of 4, ordinance 2501-119 is hereby adopted.
Next is item F. This is second read of an ordinance creating Chapter 18 Environment, creating a framework for erosion control, runoff, illicit discharge, stormwater management, and litter control. And this is the second read of an ordinance that had a first read on last Friday morning. What is that ordinance number, please, Madam Clerk?
Any discussion about ordinance 2501-121? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 2501-121. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a vote to adopt ordinance 2501-121. Do I have, I'll call a vote. All in favor? Thank you. All opposed? By a vote of 4, ordinance 2501-121 is hereby adopted.
Next item is item G, second read of an ordinance for the city of Mulberry, creating Chapter 22 Fire Protection, creating a framework for fire safety regulations. This is the second read of an ordinance that I first read on last Friday morning. What is that ordinance number, please, Madam Clerk?
Is there any discussion about ordinance 2501-122? Hearing none, to make a motion to adopt ordinance 2501-122. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? By a vote of 4, ordinance 2501-122 is hereby adopted.
Next ordinance is item number H, second read of an ordinance of the city of Mulberry, Georgia, creating Chapter 26 floods, creating flood management plan for flood damage prevention and framework for its implementation. This is a second read of an ordinance that had a first read on last Friday morning. What is the ordinance number on that, please, Madam Clerk?
Is there any discussion about ordinance 2501-123 pertaining to flood management and flood damage prevention? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 2501-123. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? By a vote of 4, ordinance 2501-123 is hereby adopted.
Next ordinance we have is item I. This is second read of an ordinance of the city of Mulberry, Georgia, creating Chapter 38, manufactured homes and trailers, creating a methodology for taxation, permitting, location, and other regulations. This is the second read of a first read of an ordinance that occurred on last Friday morning. What is the number of that, please, Madam Clerk?
Is there any discussion about ordinance 2501-125? Did I hear that correctly, Madam Clerk? Any discussion? Hearing none, I will make a motion to adopt ordinance 2501-125. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? By a vote of 4, ordinance 2501-125 pertaining to taxation permitting is hereby, pertaining to manufactured homes is hereby adopted.
Next item we have is item J, second read of an ordinance of the city of Mulberry, Georgia, creating Chapter 42 nuisances, creating a framework for describing nuisances and other nuisance-like activities, prosecution and abatement. This is a second read of an ordinance that had a first read on last Friday morning. And what is the number of that, please, Madam Clerk?
Is there any discussion about ordinance 2501-126? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance number 2501-126. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, I will call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? By a vote of 4, ordinance 2501-126 pertaining to nuisances is hereby adopted.
Next item we have is item K, second read of an ordinance of the city of Mulberry, Georgia, creating Chapter 46 pawn shops, creating a framework for the licensure and requirements and operation of pawn shops. This is second read of an ordinance that was first read on last Friday morning. And what is the ordinance number on that, please, Madam Clerk?
Is there any discussion about ordinance number 2501-127? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 2501-127. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? By a vote of 4, ordinance 2501-127 pertaining to pawn shops is hereby adopted.
The next item is item, item L. This is second read of an ordinance of the City of Mulberry, Georgia, creating Chapter 55, Solid Waste, creating a framework for the regulation and disposal of solid waste. This is second read of an ordinance that had its first read on last Friday morning. And what's the ordinance number of that, please, Madam Clerk?
Is there any discussion about ordinance 2501-130? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 2501-130 pertaining to solid waste. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? By a vote of 4, ordinance 2501-130 is hereby adopted.
Next item we have is item M. Second read of an ordinance of City of Mulberry, Georgia, creating Chapter 58, Telecommunications, creation and regulations for telecommunications in the city, limitations, plans, permitted uses, administrative approvals, tall structures, legal status, and for other purposes. This is a second read of a first read that occurred on last Friday morning. And Madam Clerk, what is the ordinance number on that, please?
Is there any discussion about ordinance 2501-131, creating regulations regarding telecommunications? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 2501-131. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? By a vote of 4, ordinance 2501-131 is hereby adopted.
The next item we have is item N. This is second read of an ordinance of the City of Mulberry, Georgia, creating Chapter 62, Utilities, adoption of the Gwinnett County ordinances by reference on water and sewer utility regulations, use of public sewers, maintenance of private sewer lines, private wastewater disposal, sewer connections, pretreatment of fats, oils, and grease. This is a second read of a first read of an ordinance that occurred on last Friday morning. And Madam Clerk, what is the ordinance number on that, please?
Is there any discussion about ordinance number 2501-132? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 2501-132. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? By a vote of 4, ordinance 2501-132 is hereby adopted.
Next item we have is ordinance, second read of an ordinance of the City of Mulberry creating an insurance premium tax, creating a methodology for the currently collected tax to be reallocated to the City of Mulberry instead of Gwinnett County. This is the second read of a first read of an ordinance that occurred on last Friday morning. What is the number on that, please, Madam Clerk?
Is there any discussion about ordinance 2501-134 pertaining to an insurance premium tax? I will second what Councilman Rudnick had said. This is not a new tax for the City of Mulberry. This is just authorizes Mulberry to collect taxes on insurance premiums that you are already paying to the state of Georgia. So, any other discussion about that item? Hearing none, I will make a motion to adopt ordinance 2501-134. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? By a vote of 4, ordinance 2501-134 is hereby adopted.
That's all the ordinances we have for adoption on tonight, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. So we had a couple other items. We have gotten through pretty much all the action items. The only items that we did not get to under item L were items E, F, G, and K. The first 3 being the contracts. Can you speak to that? Have you reviewed those contracts for CKH, CPL, and Interdev?
I have, Mayor, and we've proposed contracts under our vendor's contract methodology. We've sent the one to CKH. They have reviewed it. They are satisfied of the terms. You have reviewed it, and those that have negotiated have reviewed the terms of it also, as well as the pricing on that. And there is an accord between the city, I believe, and CKH on that, and it would be ready for adoption if that is the will of the council.
Is there any discussion about adopting the contract to retain the firm of CKH for finance administration in the City of Mulberry? I will say this. I see some of the CKH folks here tonight. Thank you for being here. And They tirelessly moved all of our furniture into our new space. I'm not sure that was part of the agreement, but I appreciate you doing it anyway, so that was very kind of you guys to do that. Then at this time, I will make a motion to adopt the contract between the City of Mulberry and CKH to retain CKH for the services of finance and administration. Do I have a second?
I will second that, and thank you for the moving services as well.
I'd
Any
like to
discussion?
second that.
Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? By a vote of 4, the City of Mulberry will adopt the contract of CKH and authorize the mayor to sign that agreement hiring CKH for the services of finance and administration. Mr. Riley, on to item F.
Item F is the contract for Clark Patterson Lee. We have had some comments that we got on this afternoon on that. I have forwarded those contacts to you, Mayor, as you were one of the persons who was negotiating that. We have not come to, I don't see that there are any things that would preclude us from going forward with that contract, but we have not, at this point in time, placed those comments that they have within the context of the agreement. We are at the point, so we don't have the completed contract at that point in time. I see no problems in any of those things, but we just simply ran out of time to incorporate those and get your feedback that what their comments were consistent with the negotiation. So if it is up to the will of the council as to where they want to go with that at this point in time.
Would it be more appropriate for us to adopt that contract with the understanding that those comments will likely be included, or is it best to table that issue until the next meeting?
Mayor, I prefer to bring you a clean contract. That was your direction to me and the council's direction to me to bring you a clean contract, and we do not have those things yet. I would say I see no impediment to it, to going forward with the contract based on the comments, but adoption of tonight would not be consistent with the direction you gave me to begin with, to bring it to you in a clean manner, but that is certainly within the province of the mayor and council.
Is there any discussion on that? What is your guys' preference? Would you prefer that we table that and get a clean copy of the contract, or would you prefer that we go ahead and adopt it?
I mean, if we're close enough to not feel like anything's going to get in the way of that, and tabling it for 7 days, I think is appropriate to get that clean contract in front of us so that all sides are on the same page. I certainly think they've been doing a great job thus far, and I don't see any reason why they wouldn't continue to do so. But having that in front of us, I think, would be beneficial.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Wait, I would wait.
You agree? Okay. Would one of you like to make a motion to table that item?
I'll make a motion to table action item F, the adoption of the contract for CPL.
Do I have a second?
You have a second?
Okay, any discussion? All right, call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? All right, the contract for CPL, the adoption of that contract will be tabled until our next meeting which is on next Thursday. Mr. Riley, what about item G, the adoption of the contract for InterDev?
Mayor and council, we provided them our form of the vendor contract, incorporating what we believe to be all the elements of the scope that you had negotiated, as well as the price that you had negotiated. They came back with a couple of other items that they wanted to have on there. We added those items. We presented it to the mayor who had been negotiating. There was no inconsistency with what had previously been negotiated, and so we are of accord at this point in time, as it's been reviewed by by you and in terms of the terms that were negotiated, and that Interdev is satisfied at the same time. So that would be ready to be consummated at the will of the council.
Is there any discussion about adopting the contract for Interdev for IT services for the city of Mulberry? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to adopt the contract for Interdev to provide IT services to the city of Mulberry. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? All right. By a vote of 4, the contract for Interdev to provide IT services to the city of Mulberry is hereby adopted, and the mayor is authorized to sign that agreement. Okay, we've already done the other items, that brings us to K. I know that was an item that we had added. Mr. Riley, do you have any, what's the city attorney's position on item K?
Yeah, Mayor and Council, Mayor Pro Tem, I would ask that you authorize the mayor to notify the county that we have determined that we are going to take the function of the collection of personal ad valorem taxes, and that we are taking them in accord with the law as it exists on today.
Any questions?
These ad valorem taxes are on
Vehicles.
vehicles.
Yes,
Registration.
this is personal taxes. This is not taxes on any housing. We don't have any taxes in our
Right.
in our charter for any housing.
And these are, again, taxes that individuals are already paying. The money is currently going to the county.
That's correct, Mayor Pro Tem.
They will, with this adoption, come to the city of Mulberry.
That's right.
You'll
You'll be authorized to spend it on the people of the city of Mulberry, the ones that were collected by the people, paid in by the people of Mulberry, to spend on the people of Mulberry.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions or comments about the allowing the mayor to provide notice to send the ad valorem taxes to the city of Mulberry? All right, hearing none, I will make a motion to permit the mayor to send a notice to the county for the collection of ad valorem taxes. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
When is this effective? Immediately?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All right, this time I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? All right, by a vote of 4, the mayor of the city of Mulberry is authorized to send notice to the county for the collection of ad valorem taxes. Distinguished council, I believe that's everything for the night. Did I skip anything? I know we bounced around a lot. I believe so. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming this evening. We appreciate you being here as always, and as we work through getting the city up and running and things are coming together. It's definitely an exciting thing. It's been very rewarding and neat to see the city and the community come together and work together. So if there's nothing else, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Do I have a second?
A second.
Okay, any discussion? At this time, I will call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? By a vote of 4, we would stand adjourned. Everyone have a great evening and stay safe tomorrow. Obviously, we know the roads could be bad, so definitely stay safe. Have a good evening.